Payback. What is capital budgeting? Capital budgeting is a process used by companies for evaluating and ranking potential expenditures or investments that are significant in amount. This could include the purchase of new equipment, rebuilding existing equipment, purchasing delivery vehicles, and constructing additions to buildings. Capital budgeting usually involves the calculation of each project's future accounting profit by period, the cash flows after considering the time value of money, the number of years it takes for the project's cash flow to pay back the initial cash investment, an assessment of risk, and other factors. Capital budgeting is a tool for maximizing a company's future profits. Since most companies are able to manage only a limited number of large projects at any one time. What is the regular payback period? The payback period method is the length of time required to recover the cost of an investment. The payback period of a given investment or project is an important determinant of whether to undertake the position or project, as longer payback periods are typically not desirable for investment decisions. The payback period ignores the time value of money. How is regular payback period different from discounted payback period? The payback period is the amount of time for a project to break even in cash collections using nominal dollars. Alternatively, the discounted payback period reflects the amount of time necessary to break even a project based not only on what cash flows occur, but when they occur and the prevailing rate of return in the market. Time value of money, or TVM, is the concept that the value of a dollar to be received in future is less than the value of a dollar on hand today. One reason is that money received today can be invested, thus generating more money. Another reason is that when a person opts to receive a sum of money in future rather than today, he is effectively lending the money. Time value of money principle also applies when comparing the worth of money to be received in future and the worth of money to be received in further future. In other words, TVM principle says that the value of a given sum of money to be received on a particular date is more than the same sum of money to be received on a later date. Computing for the PV factor. The easiest and most accurate way to calculate the present value of any future amounts is to use an electronic financial calculator or computer software. The present value formula for a single amount is PV is equals to FV plus the quantity of 1 divided by the quantity of 1 plus cost of capital raised to n. Exercise number 1. Let's assume we are to receive $100 at the end of 2 years. How do we calculate the present value of the amount, assuming the interest rate is 8% per year, compounded annually? With the problem, we can get FV is equals to $100, N is equals to 2, I is equals to 8% as we look for the present value. Using the formula, the solution is PV is equals to FV times the quantity of 1 divided by the quantity of 1 plus I raised to n, or PV is equals to $100 times the quantity of 1 divided by the quantity of 1 plus 0.08 raised to 2, and so on. With the formula, we can get the PV is equal to $85.73 or 0.8573388, the present value factor. Computing for the regular payback period of a project. The formula to calculate payback period of a project depends on whether the cash flow per period from the project is even or uneven. In case they are even, the formula to calculate the payback period is payback period is equals to initial investment over the cash inflow per period. When cash inflows are uneven, we need to calculate the cumulative net cash flow for each period and then use the following formula for payback period. Payback period is equals to A plus B divided by C. A would be the last period with the negative cumulative cash flow. B is the absolute value of cumulative cash flow at the end of period A, while C is the total cash flow during the period after A. Example number 1. Even cash flows. Company C is planning to undertake a project requiring initial investment of $105 million. The project is expected to generate $25 million per year for 7 years. Calculate the payback period of the project. Payback period is equals to $105 million divided by $25 million or 4.2 years. Example number 2. Uneven cash flows. Company C is planning to undertake a project requiring initial investment of $50 million and is expected to generate $10 million in year 1, $13 million in year 2, $16 million in year 3, $19 million in year 4, and $22 million in year 5. Calculate the payback value of the project. For year 0, we have a negative 50 for cash flow, negative 50 for cumulative cash flow. Year number 1, cash flow 10, cumulative cash flow negative 40, and so on. Example number 2. Uneven cash flows. Payback period is equals to 3 plus the absolute value of negative $11 million divided by $19 million. Payback period would be equal to 3 plus $11 million divided by $19 million. The payback period would be 3 plus 0.58 or 3.58 years. What are the advantages of using the regular payback period? Payback period is very simple to calculate. It can be measured of risk inherent in a project. Since cash flow that occur later in a project's life are considered more uncertain, payback period provides an indication of how certain the project cash inflows are. For companies facing liquidity problems, it provides a good ranking of projects that would return money early. What are the limitations of using the regular payback method? Payback period does not only take into account the time value of money, which is a serious drawback since it can lead to the wrong decision. A variation of payback method that attempts to remove the drawback is called discounted payback period method. It does not take into account the cash flows that occur after the payback period. What is the general rule for decisions for single project proposals for regular payback period? Accept the project only if its payback period is less than the target payback period. Otherwise, reject the project. What are the decision rules for multiple project proposals, for independent proposals, for mutually exclusive proposals? Accept the project only if its payback period is less than the targeted payback period, Otherwise, reject the project for independent proposals. When dealing with mutually exclusive proposals, the project with a shorter payback period should be selected. How to compute for a discounted payback period of a project. In discounted payback period, we have to calculate the present value of each cash inflow, taking the start of the first period as 0 point. For this purpose, the management has to set a suitable discount rate. The discount cash inflow for each period is to be calculated using the formula discounted cash inflow is equals to actual cash inflow divided by the quantity of 1 plus I raised to n, where I is the discount rate and n is the period of which the cash inflow relates. The rest of the procedure is similar to the calculation of simply payback period, except that we have to use the discounted cash flows as calculated above instead of the actual cash flows. The cumulative cash flow will be replaced by cumulative discounted cash flow. Discounted payback period is equals to A plus B divided by C, wherein A is the last period with the negative discounted cumulative cash flow, B is the absolute value of discounted cumulative cash flow at the end of the period, and C is the discounted cash flow during the period after A. What are the advantages of using the discounted payback period? Discounted payback period is more reliable than simple payback period, since it accounts for time value of money. It is interesting to note that if a project has negative net present value, it won't pay back the initial investment. What are the limitations of using the discounted payback method? Discounted payback method ignores the cash inflows from project after the payback period. Illustrated problem. An initial investment of $2,324,000 is expected to generate $600,000 per year for 6 years. Calculate the discounted payback period of the investment if the discount rate is 11%. Step number 1. Prepare a table. Year 0, cash flow negative $2,324,000, present value factor 1, discounted cash flow negative $2,324,000, cumulative discounted cash flow negative $2,324,000. Year 1, $600,000 for the cash flow, 0.9009 for the PVF, $540,541 for discounted cash flow, and negative $1,783,459 for cumulative discounted cash flow, and so on. Step number 2. Discounted payback period is equals to 5 plus the absolute value of negative $106,462 divided by 320,785, or 5.32 years. What is the general rule for decisions for single project proposals for regular payback period? Accept projects that result in a discounted payback period that is less than the targeted period. A company is able to compare its required break-even date to when the project will break even in terms of discounted cash flows to approve or reject the project. What are the decision rules for multiple project proposals, for independent proposals, and mutually exclusive proposals? Accept projects that result in a discounted payback period that is less than the targeted period. A company is able to compare its required break-even date to when the project will break even in terms of discounted cash flows to approve or reject the project. When dealing with mutually exclusive projects, the project with the shorter payback period should be selected.